Starting with the back piece, I'm going to create my own back interfacing. So I'm just going to create it on top of the pattern piece I already have here. On the shoulder seam, I just guesstimated and put it about 1.5 inches from the neckline. Just created a little marking there. Five inches down on the center fold, I created another marking. And using my French curve ruler, I just connected the two dots. Now this is just my preference. You can create it any size, length, or width you want. This is what I just randomly chose to do. Now you can either find tracing paper or anything see-through. I happen to have a clear plastic bag, so I placed it on top and traced over that marking for the back interfacing. I'm going to use that as my pattern piece for the interfacing on the back. Once I cut it out, you can see that it fits perfectly, and I'll just place that over the fabric later as my pattern piece. I'm going to do the same for the front, so 1.5 inches from the neckline on the shoulder seam. Now as for the length, that will depend on the length of the zipper you have. One thing you want to keep in mind is how high your collar will be. I made my collar 4 inches, so I'm going to mark 4 inches down on the zipper, and that will be counted for the collar. Now depending on the length of your zipper will be determining how far down the center of the pattern piece you're going to go. You kind of want to go just slightly below your zipper. And again, up to you. I decided to go, I believe, 3 inches out, just below the zipper for my front interfacing. Now I'm just going to connect those two lines. You can either make it straight like how I did, or if you want a slight curve, it's all up to you. Again, using that plastic bag that I had, or if you have any tracing paper, you can also just use that and copy out the front facing. Now there's actually multiple ways to create that half zipper sweater. This is one way. There's actually another way to achieve this look that I could create in another video if you guys are interested. I'm using this sweatshirt fleece that I got. It was on sale for this video. I actually got it from the clearance section at Fabricland. So to begin, I created on the fold, I'm going to cut out the front and back of the facing separate. I just pinned it onto the fabric, and as you can see, it is on the fold. And I just do a little clip there just to mark the front middle. As you can see laid out now, I've got the two collar pieces. The length will depend on the opening of the neck of your pattern piece, and the width I decided 4 inches was good enough for me. You're going to need your zipper, the front and the back facing, and off camera I went ahead and just cut out the front and back pieces for the sweater. Now to start off, you are going to attach the front and the back of the interfacing together. Of course, right sides together. You can either sew or serge, and you're going to do the same for the front and back bodice pieces of your sweater. If you need a detailed description of how to actually put the whole sweater together, then I will attach a link on how to put a crew neck sweater together. It's in another video I did earlier. I just wanted this video to focus basically on how I achieved that 1/4 zipper look. Once you've serged the shoulder pieces together, I usually like to do a top stitching on top towards the back just to keep that serged area laying nice and flat. Once you're done that, you're going to mark the center front and start wrapping the collar all around, starting in the front there, and pin all the way around the neck. You can also cut down maybe 2 or 3 inches in the front of the neckline just to make it easier to pin down the collar. You're going to do this for both the interfacing as well as the front and the back pattern bodice. Now that you've sewed it all together, it's time to create a line where your zipper will be going. I realized I didn't do too well of an explanation when I was filming this video originally, so I attached another little clip on a sample piece of fabric on how I achieved the zipper look. I try not to cut too much of the fabric in the beginning just so I don't mess up. So starting with your zipper, you're going to face it right sides together and begin pinning down, wedging the zipper between the front bodice as well as the interfacing. It's hard to kind of explain, but in the video you'll see how I was doing it. One thing to keep in mind is you want to make sure that you match up the seams on the neckline. And using the zipper foot, you're just going to do a nice straight stitch all the way down. You can see that it's wedged together, so when you flip it over, it looks nice and neat. Once you've done the one side, if you turn it over, you can see that it looks nice and neat. And you're just going to do the same for the other side, taking the other side of the zipper and you're going to wedge it between the interfacing and the front of the bodice. Again, you want to match up those seam lines. And you're just going to sew down again. This is how it'll look when you're done. This is just another example of how to actually sew the zipper together with the interfacing. I'm just using some scrap fabric again just to show you a little more in depth of how to do it. So you're going to create a nice straight line with 2 little notches on the side, creating almost a nice little triangle. You're going to cut down and then cut 2 little notches on both the front and also on the interfacing. You're going to take your zipper and you're going to wedge it in between, making sure the zipper is just a little bit longer than that little notch you've left. And you're going to wedge it in between the 2 layers like so, and do a nice straight stitch down with your zipper foot. Once that's completed, you're going to turn it over and you can see it's nicely wedged. This is just a quick example, so the stitches are not the straightest, but this is just in case you wanted a little more information. Hopefully it makes sense. Now you're going to do the same with the other side of the zipper. You're going to wedge that zipper in between the 2 layers, the front and the back. I'm not pinning it here, but it would be wise to pin once you bring it over to your sewing machine. Once you've sewn the 2 pieces together, that little triangle you left before, that will come into play, and you're just going to kind of wedge it in between. I don't know how to explain it, and do a nice straight stitch just to finish off the bottom of your zipper. Next, I'm just going to take my serger and I'm just going to finish off those raw edges. of the interfacing. Now I'm just going to quickly finish off that collar. I'm going to pin the top raw edges that are left open, and then you're just going to flip it over, and voila, you've got a finished edge. Now for almost the final part. Here I'm just pinning down that interfacing to the bodice. And this is where I'm going to sew down the interfacing onto the actual bodice piece. Now, depending on your comfort level, will depend on how you choose to sew it down, either right sides out or the wrong sides out. You can kind of see where I've pinned and where you're going to sew. I also forgot to mention that you can do a top stitch over your zipper as well. And this is how it will look. As you can see, it looks nice and neat. There's no raw area of the zipper showing. Hopefully this video made sense for you. Again, I did link below how to add the arms, the waistband, etc. on a different video. And I also decided last minute to add a nice little front pocket. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next video.